You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Doing It for the Exposure, the show that can't pay you but will be great for your CV. I'm your host Mannequin Blue, and today's special guest is prolific writer and performer Daniel Wade. Daniel, how's it going?
How you doing, Katie? You well? Do I call you Katie or Mannequin? This is I feel like if I call you Katie, it's like exposing Batman or something, you know?
No, you can call me whatever you want as long as you call me.
Fair enough. It's like that one idiot in the Batman film where he just walks in, hey, Bruce, oh.
The walls are being torn down here today.
Sorry,
so, Daniel, you have quite a few kind of industries under your belt. You do, theater, poetry, spoken word, film, radio, television, scripts, all that kind of stuff. How did you get into all that?
I think a chancer is probably the best kind of thing. Having a brass neck is really probably the best answer. But I mean, you say I'm doing all that, but I'm attempting. Really, is more the more accurate one. And occasionally, you just fire on all cylinders, and then hopefully something hits something.
Yeah.
But but I do try to. I enjoy writing in different mediums, because it's a bit like it's a little bit like, I suppose, working out, because you're kind of keeping different muscles active, really. And what I always liked about, I started writing stories when I was a kid, say like from 10, 12 years old, and then I got into poetry in my mid-teens, mostly because of a girl I fancied. And then that rather than doing the sensible thing, which would have been to chat her up, I instead left poems in her locker like an idiot. And being a fairly acne-prone and not very confident teenager, you can imagine how this went. so that didn't happen. But out of it, I came, actually, I've got a bit of a facility for language. Let's see where we go from here. So I just did that, and I was always a voracious reader, and kept reading away. And then I studied journalism and English lit in college, as one does. And then I just kept going at it. I did when I was around in 2015. I had several things happen all at once. I had a radio play on on Dublin South FM, and then about a month after that, I won the Hennessy Award in the Irish Times, which was great. And then I kept getting more and more things published. And then only 2 months ago, a radio play of mine was broadcast on RTE, and then won a silver at the New York Festival Awards. And and then before I could go out and celebrate, lockdown hit. So.
That's the curse, isn't it?
Yeah. And everyone was saying, I really thought this was going to be my year, after just, hacking away at the coalface. Now, then they say, yeah, lads, stay indoors. All right, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how many people I've talked to so far that have similar stories of, it was going to be my year, it was going to happen.
But it really was. We meant it this time. What's what Marge Simpson says? All you can do is laugh.
And then she sat there stone-faced. So, just speaking of the lockdown, how in particular has it affected your work? Apart from you were going out to celebrate.
Well, a large part of what I do really is me just sitting, staring at a laptop, occasionally mumbling to myself, and hopefully getting a few words out if I'm lucky. So really, it's lifestyle-wise doesn't change that much. I'm still here in my room, which is more like a lion's den than any kind of human habitation. It's covered books everywhere, and books. There's definitely wildlife somewhere, although I hope not. And so lifestyle-wise hasn't really changed. I've just been still here, beavering away, really. And that was kind of my. So it hasn't really changed that much. I mean, I did have a lot of readings coming up. I was meant to be down in Cork in March. I was meant to be going out to where was it? Salons in July. And everything just got cancelled all at once. And then I could feel bad about it, but were it not for the fact that all my mates, and no doubt we've people in common here, actors, models, writers, musicians in particular, everything just stopped.
Mhm.
All jobs really coming up just stopped, and that's the worst part. And I think my friend Graham Coughlin is a great actor and photographer. He had a big play coming up in the Project Art Centre, and that just stopped immediately. And you kind of everybody just it was like mass shutdown, you know.
Mhm.
Awful. But on the plus side though, because I forced myself to be an optimist at the best of times, so one of the choice that we got really, and I just kept writing away. So I've been trying to just keep myself productive, because that's really the best way I have of just staying sane, really. You know, if I ever was sane from at all. So there you go.
Yeah. So you're getting a lot of work. Yeah. So you're getting a lot of work done now then, are you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned also film and TV. I mean, working with filmmaker Shane Collins, who is a great filmmaker. We've been working fairly solidly for about a year on different things, and again going back to flexing different muscles. You know, I'm not a comedy writer by any means. I wasn't even a film writer, but I've had to force myself to kind of learn the grammar of filmmaking, we're even working on a sitcom as we speak, and I've never written a sitcom before, but then I had to go and then I had to sit down and actually watch a whole lot of things, and just not like Faulty Towers, obviously, and then The Office and all these great comedic shows, and I realized how actually tightly written they are. It's fantastic, and it's really difficult to do, and it's really hard to be funny, really. And so it's my first time, but you know, and it was something new I had to do, and I've been forcing myself out of my comfort zone really for the last month, as it were. Just it's all in an attempt to stay sane, really. So,
I think a lot of people are in the same boat in that, you know,
yeah,
they kind of, when the lockdown hit, they couldn't do the things that they were already doing, so that they had
yeah,
to diversify and try new things.
yeah. And in a way, it's funny, because I think we were talking about this earlier on. I think for a lot of us, this is kind of the job anyway, you know. And I don't really feel everyone should think this way, but from my own, I suppose from my own, again, the bulwark things, I tend to just view things as the job, you know. When things happen, like I looked in my inbox, and it's just rejection after rejection of stuff I sent out, with the occasional acceptance, you know. And that's kind of that's been my life pretty much for the last 15 years. And I've kind of just gotten used to the unpredictability of the whole thing, and you know, having things cancelled, and someone making a promise that turns out too good to be true. And you know, I've kind of I'm a bit more, I like to think I'm a bit more steeled about it. I mean, I got a rejection only yesterday for a short play I wrote, and I was going, oh damn it. But you kind of just, okay, grit your teeth, carry on. And that's my approach anyway. Whether that's for everybody, I don't know, but it's kept me going so far. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that comes with the territory, is that you're going to get more no's than yeses, unfortunately.
I mean, I gave a talk back in January at a secondary school, and again, I was really nervous because I'd never really done this before, and I was talking to teenagers, and I was wondering, am I? And it was the first time I realised, yeah, I'm getting old. It's just what was cool when I was 15 probably definitely isn't now. I would guarantee. I wasn't cool at 15, so I'm probably definitely not so now. But one of them asked me, like, what advice would I give? And the first thing I said was, develop a thick skin, because honestly, if you're serious about it, you're going to get a lot of no's. It's what happens, and it's the job, and it's kind of like, I was talking to this colleague of mine. I won't say he's a friend, but he's a guy I work with on occasion. I won't say who, but he kind of shocked me once by saying that he never sent stuff out because he couldn't take a rejection, and yet he had a book published, and I was kind of, and he saw the look I gave him. I was kind of going, "Are you serious? Like, you never? It's like wanting to be a boxer and not wanting to get hit. It's just it makes no sense to me. Like, you have to do it. It's unpleasant, of course, but you have to do it. And it's easy for me to say because I've been at it for this long. But it is, if you're starting out, that's I think something you should do. Just be prepared for the no's and the unpredictability. I mean, as a model, I mean, have you found it to be the same?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've submitted, you know, things to magazines, photo shoots and stuff like that, and I think I've yet to have a single one actually be accepted.
There you go.
One actually be accepted.
There you go. Yeah, and there's a crushing sense of resignation. In the,
which is
or,
funny though, because
or,
people I work with, they would submit, they might have submitted shoots that I would have worked on, and they get accepted, but what am I doing wrong?
yeah. And really, there is, and often there really isn't anything you're doing wrong. There's so many factors out of your control. So it's kind of it's just about, as I said, just kind of clenching your fists and carrying on. I mean, but again, I mean, going back to the comfort zone, one of the best things that has happened. I mean, I primarily work in prose fiction and poetry. That's kind of what I want to do. I love narrative and I love language and always have. And but I got into plays, and Cian O'Callaghan directed my first play on the I believe Cian was on the first episode of this podcast, and he I mean, I'd acted in, I had minor roles in school doing kind of amateur productions, but I'd never really, this was a full scale professional production. And of course I got a lot wrong with the production, but we will hopefully have the sense not to repeat any mistakes that were made. And for Cian, I mean, Cian was it was quite a dark play for him. It talked about masculinity and suicide and, gang violence and all this kind of stuff. And, for Cian had done fairly, I won't say lighthearted, but they were more comedically based. So it was new for him. And then as a result, we got a rave review of the Irish Times. So that was our kind of, we did it,
We made it.
Yeah. Now give us money. but and then Cian's since gone on to do. I mean, he did School for Dinosaurs in Smock Alley, which was even more ambitious and even more, I'd imagine, a challenge to do on a technical basis. And and what I learned from doing that with technical basis, and and what I learned from doing that with him was that as a writer, ultimately branching out into these different things, into television and radio, and attempting to do film as well, what you're doing is you're collaborating with lots of different people, and you're collaborating with. And you have to fundamentally understand that it is a collaborative endeavor, I think. And so you have to be willing to make compromises, and then also stand your ground when it's for the best. And I'm sure musicians, playwrights, actors, and models, of course, I'm sure it's no different. You have to kind of work with different personalities and different aesthetics of doing things, I'd imagine. And when I think we worked together on we did a table read of a play, and that was about kind of, I think, trying to manage different kind of expectations of what people wanted, even if it was just a table read. I mean, it was a great experiment to do it, because we had to see, well, does this play work? Does it actually hold water? We had to see, well, does this play work? Does it actually hold water? Will it actually hold up when finally put on stage? So that's the something I've had to learn. And hopefully I kind of go with it. I mean, it's not I like to think my ego's firmly it's healthy enough that I can operate in that regard. So let's hope once quarantine lifts, I haven't gone entirely mad. I'm like Mr. Burns, with the spruce moose. I mean, if I end up like that, I mean, that's I'm only myself to blame, I think.
Oh, it's funny you say that. I was only watching that episode yesterday.
It's a classic. And then, as kids, we just thought, oh, look, Mr. Burns being hilarious. And then as adults, we realized, no, that's our fate. For a lot of people.
That's it. And a lot of creatives like ourselves, we do, sometimes we're used to really working with other people, and sometimes we're a bit stir crazy at this point.
Yeah, even I consider, as I say I've done all these collaborations, but I consider myself quite a bit of an introvert as well. Anyway, so it's kind of not. But even I'm starting to feel the edge as well, and it's kind of, I mean, I think someone said that this whole quarantine business, it's a bit like the apocalypse set to easy mode. So, like it's and you think all the things that zombie movies got wrong. One of them was a whole cohort of people denying that there's a problem. And to finally going out and all this kind of thing, and it's a very surreal time, I think. But again, I mean, going back to silver linings, I mean, I've got a lot done. I've got a whole rake of poems, a whole new rake of poems published as well, and that's a kind of, I know a lot of people are feeling the edge, and I've realised it's probably not the best thing to kind of boast about how how productive you actually are being. I've noticed now's not the time. You know,
Yeah.
it's when things were probably, and I use the word with some hesitation, normal. It was a lot more. I think you see people on Instagram, you know, lads just flexing their muscles, going, you know, keep your friends close and your frenemies closer, and all this kind of stuff. And you're going, all you've done is just go to the gym. That's not, you haven't cured cancer here, you know. But and to do that now would be it's bad taste then, and it's even a worse taste now to boast about how well you're doing. I feel I don't know. Maybe you disagree.
No, I mean, I suppose it's different for everyone in the sense that, yeah, like I kind of hid away for maybe the first month of lockdown, and I was like, nobody must know that I'm not being productive, you know.
Well, now we've got to at the point where people are no longer saying they're going to learn. Well, now we've got to at the point where people are no longer saying they're going to learn the violin or speak Mandarin or get a degree in economics, because everyone's going, we don't have. What does that say about our society that when the world goes into lockdown, everyone feels they have to, you know, be the next Rembrandt? It's like what does that say about where we are? It's I don't know. I'm just a guy with internet connection.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing that like we do struggle with, is that, you know, if you're not being productive, you're not creating something, you're not contributing, and therefore you're not being valuable, you know.
Yeah, and to that I say, I've heard it all before. I'm a writer. My entire life been told I'm useless.
Oh no.
That cheer up. The worst is yet to come.
Yeah. And on that ominous note, let's move on to some happier topics. No, why don't you tell us a bit about because you mentioned that you've done spoken word poetry as well.
Oh yeah. And I've when I was a kid, I was fascinated by the marriage of both spoken word and music as well. I don't know what it was. I just thought it was a great little combination. It's almost like song, but it's its own thing as well. And you know, I come from a family of musicians, and you know, I'm kind of with my dad, my sister, and my mother. They all play. My mother sings. My dad's a piano technician, and if you need a piano tune, guys, it's Paul Wade's telling you. It's and of course, I myself was a fanatic by music growing up, and still am. And I was always just amazed by how I suppose, what's the word, how adaptable language can be with music. So when I was about Numbers on Earth, which was a hodgepodge of different musical styles, I had everything from, you know, jazz to rock to even at one point EDM, which was interesting. It was a spoken word piece about boxing of all things, and it distorted my voice, so I sounded like a trainer yelling at someone working out. So it was, and there was this electronic beat behind, and I thought, well, that's one more thing off the bucket list. So, and my friend Justin, who I co-wrote the play with, Musos, Justin wrote the music for a lot of the tracks on that album, as well as my father as well. It was a real mix of different musicians anyway, all bringing their styles. And if you want to check it out, it's on Spotify. But I for all that, I'm not a musician myself. You know, I'm not. I can't tell you the first thing about, you know, chords or any of that kind of thing. I can't tell you the first thing about, you know, chords or any of that kind of thing. I mean, when I had a few inside me, I start singing, but not very well. But it's but aside from that, you're kind of, what I just show up with the words. Hopefully, the words pass muster and the music can flow around them. That's generally the hope. I just trust whoever I work with in that capacity to kind of work their magic. You know, I don't try to impose any kind of system on them. I'm happy to just let them do their thing. I mean, if I'm working with them, take it as a given. I trust them to do what they're doing, and hopefully make some magic happen. That's he very ineloquently says.
I'm always fascinated about when you talk to people about what they do, and they're so humble about it, you know. And just even reading your bio, you see all these places where you've been featured and awards you've won, and then you get on the podcast and you go, yeah, I just bring the words. Get on the podcast and you go, yeah, I just bring the words.
Well, I do, and that's pretty much it. And I, hopefully the voice when necessary, and then I'll just shut up and let whoever standing to my right just do their solo and let the, But that's the that's kind of that's the very unglamorous side of it. Where people often ask, and maybe you get this as well. I mean, it's kind of because you're immensely creative with in how you approach the modeling. I mean, I don't know the first thing about body paint, but that's one of the immediately. Yeah, that's mannequin blue right there because nobody else does. Nobody else I know uses color that way, and it's especially in photography. And I just go, that's the. I don't know about you, but I think you even said on the episode prior to this that you might spend 5 hours getting yourself ready for a shoot, and then it only takes about 20 minutes. So you have to go home, wash it all off again, and you're going. And people would say, "But how did you manage to do that?" And you might say, "Well, exactly." I drink the coffee, then I do. but it really, I mean, the story I love repeating. It's about Stravinsky, the composer. People often ask him, Maestro, where do you get all where does the inspiration come from? And he'd say, do you get it when you're, watching the sunrise in the morning? Do you get it when you're walking through the forest in the dark? Do you get it when you see the waves crashing off the coastline? And he said, I get it at the piano. I get it while I'm sitting at the piano working, and that's kind of that's my general attitude to it. I mean, just sit down and try and force something out of you. I wouldn't call myself especially imaginative or creative or visionary in any way because it's never. People always say they wait for the inspiration to come, and I just don't think that's any use. I to the extent that I when someone met, I never bought into the idea of the muse, for example. I don't believe in the muse or the concept of the muse. I don't really put much faith in it because it's kind of there's faith in it because it's kind of there's a very I think we're someone likened the muse to be, I think it was Nick Cave, he likened the muse to being like I fired her because she never showed up for work, so I fired her. But it's I never even went that far. I just thought I don't really believe in the muse as an imagination. Like I'm waiting for the muse to strike. I just think it's a waste of time. Just get to work. Really, it's and if you really want to project on people, just show them you're not being useless and just kind of hammer something out. And that's kind of the very aggressive Ernest Hemingway approach to it. But that's just it, though. I mean, it really is as unglamorous as me just sitting at a laptop mumbling to myself, kind of my face, kind of like that picture of Fry from Futurama. Not sure if trolling or just stupid. That's my writing.
Make words. No, I'm terrible for it. I usually get my I'm terrible for it. I usually get my ideas in the shower.
So do I on occasion, and that's the worst time to get them because now to run out and get my notebook, which is all the way over in the other room, and jot it down before it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, or you get them in a dream and you wake up and it's gone.
Yeah, or you think, sure, I'll remember it in the morning.
That's the curse.
Yeah, so I'm in the habit of keeping a notebook by my bed on that note as well. It's kind of for that reason. I don't trust. I've made that mistake many times, and I'm not letting a good idea die if it comes to me. They're really rare. You can't let them get away.
And they're always the best ideas are the ones you don't remember.
Yeah, they are. Or are they because you can't get them back? Oh, sweet sorrow. What may never be. Oh God.
So for any people and I know you've said, develop a thick skin, but is there any other advice that you would give to people who are at home and thinking, I want to be a writer?
I'd say read a great deal. Read everything from Shakespeare to what's on the back of, the packet of cornflakes in the morning. Just read everything. Immerse yourself in language. Try and write every day. Develop a schedule if you can. We all have lives. We all have, we all have people we care for. We have dependents. We have family members. If you don't, well, try and just force yourself into it. And as I say, develop a thick skin, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up. It's not, try not to. If anything, this quarantine has taught us, it's not to beat ourselves up too much about being productive or anything else. And it's I try to. There's a balance to be struck, I think. So try and find that balance if you can. and just try, and whether it's 3 hours or 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, and if you get something out, well, that counts too. I guess try and keep yourself up to date on what's going on outside, and just keep honing until you know it's right. Draft away, and then if you want to workshop something, let people take on board what people are saying, and decide for yourself whether it's worth following. That's really the best I can say.
No, that's great advice. I think it's kind of universal.
And I guess if you appear on podcasts, I mean, be sure to just support your mates' work and plug them and do all that good stuff, because it's better to have solidarity than in competition.
Well, this is it, yeah.
What else can I go from here? That's advice-wise. I think that's all I can give. Just read a lot, develop a schedule if you can, and don't beat yourself up too much.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's good advice for any art form, really.
Mm.
So before we go, is there anything else that you wanna chat about?
Well, if you like what you heard today, I mean, I'll read out a short one if we have time.
Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Okay, cool. It's a recent one I wrote. It's called An Old Mercy, and it's just brief background. A lot of the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona has been hit pretty hard by COVID, and they set up a GoFundMe page, and the majority of people who donated were Irish, because during the famine, the Choctaw Nation raised money to help with famine relief, and it's only in the last 2 weeks that Irish people actually returned the favor, and so that's a positive thing to have happened in the last few months, I think. So this poem is about that. It's called An Old Mercy. For once, the wind shy in this arid season. What reason is there now to fear its parched growl? Hints of scattershot thunder, blizzards of red-blue light pulsing from the cop cars. Relief parcels are sent from food banks in Flagstone and Phoenix. Med supplies, water, history's bare footprints, loaded by masked volunteers off semi-trucks, pickups and SUVs, lining Route 89 freeway. But there's another gift to be found amid rocks, a totem trailing tears through blood and memory. Mid-May, restrictions on the res, off the dirt roads. Border towns are addicted and afflicted by the same seasonal hunger in this painted desert. Yet there's no telling when it will reach its finish. Out of Ara's humming furnace, out of coal we cough, out of sagebrush we are propelled toward death. Out of the juniper's skeletal sway, we absorb emergency. Our flesh cooled by minerals piped from the water towers, beacons of hope switched off to preserve electricity. Out of red dust, an old mercy remembers and returns from an ocean and a continent away. The sun seems to say, follow me to Antelope Canyon, the moon's simmering counterpart. Follow me and understand. An avalanche of donations snowballs into thousands. GoFundMe page paying it forward to lift us out of shared starvation. And the shaven-headed mesa, molten in the haze, looms like a monument of sand-blasted reprieve in the valley, while terns range the stars and trace hints of a storm in the cloud's grey bulk above. O distant friends, whom we may never meet, whose names we cannot list, revive.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
And that's one of your more recent poems, is it?
Yeah, that's a recent one. That's only the last. I read about that. I just remember reading about the Navajo Nation, and this was what I sat down to write, really.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember reading that story recently as well, and it's just the way that you've put it down is wow.
I bring the words. That's all.
You bring the words. Yeah. So, for people listening at home, then I know that you've provided quite a few links, and we'll share them all on the description. But where's the best place to keep up to date with you?
Well, I'm active on Facebook and Instagram and all those. I have a website as well. That should be up, and I keep that updated with what's happening. So yeah, it's not with what's happening. So yeah, it's not I don't mean like a blog. It's just kind of just keep it updated with whatever's going on at the moment, which has been fairly few. So just there, yeah. All the main social media ones. Embers and Earth is on Spotify, and my chapbook, Iceberg Relief, that's available on Amazon. Want to give that a download, and yeah, that's the Google my name. You're bound to find something.
I'm on the Googles.
Yeah, on the Googles. Just go Google me.
Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for anybody at home listening, definitely check out Daniel's work. He's fantastic. He does everything you can think of, scripts, plays, all of that stuff. And if you enjoyed this episode of Doing It for the Exposure and would like to hear more in the future, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at DIFTE Podcast. You can also check out our stream on nerdtoknowmedia.com. We thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.